Today, Henry Kissinger has died, and I think, although he's recognized as a great diplomat, when you look back at his career, there's very little uh, at his time in office as, for example, Secretary of State, that he actively achieved that was positive. The Vietnam War was lost while he was Secretary of State as a result of his policies. Um, and yet he's thought as a major success. Um, his uh, his negotiation for the end of the Vietnam War, for which I think he was offered the Nobel Prize. He accepted the prize. He did, but the North Vietnam negotiator did not. His attempts to negotiate the end of the Middle East conflict in 1973, his attempt to negotiate a a better relationship with China, with the Soviet Union. I think there were areas where he improved the situation, but I don't think he succeeded that much while he was in office. The fact that he continued his career and continued to involve himself in diplomacy and foreign relations long after he had been Secretary of State is probably what makes him so significant, so great. But his time as Secretary of State was a bit of a monumental disaster. There's a quotation from him. He says, "A country that demands moral perfection in its foreign policy will achieve neither perfection nor security." I think that sums up his fundamental flaw as well as his major achievement. His major achievement, of course, is being able to deal with realpolitik. His major achievement is the shuttle diplomacy thing that he initiated. But that idea that the goal is to accept a shoddy reality rather than to accept perfection, that is his mistake. If your goal is not perfection, if your goal is an acceptance of a grade B rather than a grade A, then you're never going to be great. Your goal, your object must be perfection. We must accept that our ambition is to have some sort of moral perfection in foreign policy, as in any policy. We must also accept at the same time the shoddy reality that we are going to fail. But if we don't set our goals as high as possible, we cannot achieve them. Mr. Kissinger had so many contradictions in his career, particularly in his time as Secretary of State. For example, he accepted the Greek colonels. He supported them. Madness. Madness. And his attempt to overthrow President Salvador in Chile. Again, madness. Yeah, and actually also his relationship with the Shah of Iran. Again, madness, and his failure to control the outcome of that revolution, his failure to foresee the theocracy that would supplant, let's say, the communist or the socialist ideals of the revolutionaries. He was a great man, but with great flaws, and he was continuing his diplomatic efforts and to tread the world stage until the last few months. He went to China. He knew Putin even before Putin became president. He knew him and was able to speak with him in at least one common language, which was German. I think he will go down as one of the great history makers, but a flawed history maker, and an undoubtedly great man, undoubtedly.